We are covering breaking news out of the Young Thug racketeering case about the stabbing of defendant Shannon Stillwell. Now, Stillwell faces 2 murder charges, among other counts, and stands trial with 5 other co-defendants, including the rapper Young Thug. All of the defendants are on trial for participation in a criminal street gang called Young Slime Life, or YSL. We have reporter Michael Seiden. He is from WSB TV, joining us live from outside the hospital. Michael, thank you so much for joining us. What can you tell us about what's happening with Shannon Stillwell and all about that stabbing?
Yeah, as you know, today was supposed to be the start of day 10 of this YSL gang case in Fulton County. When we arrived at court, though, we learned that one of the defendants in this case, Shannon Stillwell, was actually here at Grady Memorial Hospital in downtown Atlanta, where he is recovering after he was stabbed last night at the Fulton County Jail. We are told he's expected to make a full recovery. Now, his lawyer has not disclosed the specific injuries, but I've got a couple of sources that have told me that he was stabbed in the stomach and that he underwent surgery early this morning. Now, of course, this is problematic considering we're in the middle of the trial. So this morning, the judge brought everybody in, the jurors as well, and he addressed the jurors. He didn't get into the details. He didn't say the specific person, but he basically said that Shannon Stillwell, he said that one of the individuals in this case had a medical issue and that he was going to dismiss the jury for the rest of the day, but to come back tomorrow for testimony starting at 9 a.m.
Michael, it sounds like the injuries are very serious. If he was stabbed in the stomach, it sounds like he would not be able to return to court tomorrow. Do you get the impression that he will be in for a significant amount of time?
You know, this is all speculation right now, but I'm with you. I mean, I can't imagine if you were stabbed once or multiple times in the stomach, underwent surgery, that you'd be able to get back to court tomorrow. But as of now, the plan is to be back in court. But you got to remember, too, this week is the last week before that 2-week break before the holidays. So I know there's a number of witnesses that the prosecution's planning on calling on. But I did speak before we got on here with Max Shart. He is the defense attorney who's representing Shannon Stillwell. He told me he's planning to get here this afternoon to talk with his client. So we're hoping to get an update. But that's a great question moving forward because, again, Shannon Stillwell is going to want to be in the courtroom as these proceedings continue.
Exactly, Michael. He has the right to be in that courtroom. We'll see what his attorney says after he has a conversation with him. I suppose he could waive that right and the case could continue, or they could declare a mistrial. We talked about that earlier, and the case could also continue, or they could just separate his case. So I definitely think that there are options if it's a mistrial as to him, or if his case is separated, or if he does come back. One thing is very interesting, though, is if the case continues and he's not separated out of the case and he's missing from that chair, I would think that the jury would wonder what happened to him and start speculating as to what this medical emergency is. So I think, and asking you now, what's your opinion as to what the judge might do under those circumstances?
Right. I mean, when you think about this original indictment, there was 28 defendants. We're now down to 6. So it wouldn't be very hard for the jury to figure out who was missing from the proceedings. You know, one more quick note about this incident, though, overnight that I failed to mention. You know, this is all still under investigation right now. We're still trying to figure out the circumstances surrounding this stabbing. Also, I should mention that it was last summer in 2022 that Shannon Stillwell was actually a victim of a stabbing then as well. Now, I've reached out to the sheriff's office. They're preparing a statement and going to release more details about that incident. But I can tell you just from reporting on this jail in the past, anytime somebody becomes the victim of a violent crime like that, they're usually moved into protective custody. Now, if this was the case this time, we're not sure yet. We're still working to get that confirmed. And I should also mention, as many of your viewers probably know, the jail is under a federal investigation right now from the U.S. Department of Justice. So all this going on right now, just so many unanswered questions that we're looking to get the answers to.
Do you have any idea, Michael, as to whether or not there were cameras? Oftentimes we hear that there are cameras in the jail and it could have picked up on what occurred there. If they're still investigating, I would think that they would want to look there first, yes?
Absolutely, yeah. There are cameras throughout that facility, and I know that in previous stabbings that they, of course, go to the surveillance video right away to review it. So I would imagine as long as the cameras were operating, they should have this attack in plain view and be able to see exactly what went down. But again, there have been a number of problems with that jail. It's crumbling. We have seen inmates making shanks and homemade knives out of the crumbling pieces of that jail. So it's just a mess in there. I've also done reports before on the latches on the cells being unlocked so that inmates are just able to walk around freely. So it'll be interesting to see, but absolutely surveillance video, I would imagine, would be the first thing they're looking at.
Do you think there's any possibility that that jail could be closed down and that all of the people who are inside could be moved to another facility if, in fact, it is that poor conditions?
You know, for people who may have loved ones or friends in that jail, I mean, they would love to see probably that thing get shut down or for their loved ones to be moved. But the reality of the situation is it's overpopulated. It's a very controversial discussion that's been going on in this community for a while now. I just don't know where they would move them. There's obviously some other facilities around town they could move them. But as far as moving all the defendants, I mean, you already have, for example, Young Thug. He's being held in an adjacent county in Cobb County. So I don't see them moving them, but, you know, everything that's been going on in this trial, you think you've seen it all, and then something else happens. So, I mean, really, your guess is as good as mine.
Michael, we're so glad to have you there on the ground. I mentioned earlier that I thought all of the defendants were behind bars. Do you know for a fact if all 6 of them are now behind bars versus being out on bond? That was my assumption, but I'm wondering if you know.
Yeah, so the 6 that are standing trial right now, they are all behind bars right now. Now, of course, the ones that have taken plea deals, some of them are out, and there's some that are actually, there was a guy who was severed, Miles Farley, a defendant in this case, who was severed early on, and I believe he is out on bond right now on house arrest, yes, but the 6 standing trial right now remain behind bars.
Michael, have they allowed you to go into the hospital? I would think there would be some privacy concerns, but to get any sort of information other than waiting for Shard to come out and give you more information, have they said anything? For instance, have they had a press conference or anything to that effect at the hospital?
No, and because of HIPAA, we're probably not going to hear from any hospital officials here. And again, we're not, as members of the media, we're not granted permission to go inside. So really, we're just to kind of set the scene for your viewers. This is the emergency portal where anytime anybody's rushed to the hospital, any emergency in the city and county, they are rushed here. So this is that emergency room tower right now. I mean, you can go into the lobby, but any family or friends who are here are probably, if he is stabilized and out of the operating room, they'll probably be in some room right now. So at this point, we just kind of have to wait and see.
Exactly. And Grady is one of the bigger hospitals in Atlanta, I think, and perhaps that's why they took him there. They could probably do more emergency medical responses there.
Yeah, this is the top trauma center here. I mean, some of the best doctors in the world work here. Anytime there's any major trauma, especially shootings, stabbings, things like that, this is where you are taken. So, yeah, this would be the hospital to go to around here.
Michael Seiden, thank you so much. I know this is breaking news and it can't be easy to get all this information. WSB TV, we really appreciate you, Michael.